Hey everyone, Wesley with Mere Pursuit. We're going to be looking at how to play the Upgrades Market Expansion multiplayer. We're not going to be looking at the Market a Pocket game specifically. We're going to be looking at the expansion. If you need the original base rules, go back and watch the video for the Market a Pocket game. In this video, we will touch on those a little bit, but mainly to show how the upgrades integrate with it. If you notice the back of the two cards there in the image, on the left you've got the market and on the right you have the upgrades. These are both going to be types of cards you can purchase. Remember, the one on the left there is for the permanent resources. The one on the right will actually be for the upgrades themselves. Okay. The Market a Pocket game, as you know, came with one box for 1 to 2 players and 2 boxes for 3 to 4 players. Thankfully, the Upgrades and Market expansion has everything you need in it to play with 3 to 4 players, whether you're using 1 or 2 copies of the Market a Pocket game. Regarding setup, essentially we're going to start with the same 3 base buildings: compost, farm, and synthetic light. We're also going to add a 4th one in now called Hardfire. It's the Hardfire Forge. It looks the same on the back, except the difference being that it says the upgrades as opposed to the market to show that it's part of the expansion. And it's basically structured the same way as the 3 original building card. Another key difference you're going to notice in the Upgrades and Market expansion is we got these 4 decks here surrounding that initial market deck. Each deck has 3 cards in it. All of them are roughly the same image, or at the very least you'll notice that in the top right hand corner it gives you a little bit more information. They all have the same iconography on them for the deck that they match. So this deck has these 2 little sticks in the shape of a V there, and all 3 of the cards there have it. They also have a Roman numeral underneath, either 1, 2, or 3, and a power in the top. We'll talk more about the power in a minute. But in terms of kind of setting these up, the 1, the 2, and the 3 matter. The 3 goes on the bottom, the 2 on top of that, and the 1 on the tip top of the deck. You'll notice that each deck has their own icon. This one's got a cane, and this one's got like a scarf symbol, and this one's got like a gear. You'll remember that in the Market a Pocket game, in a 2-player game, player 2 started out with 1 free resource of their choice. In the Upgrades and Market expansion, yes, you've got Hardfire now, but that is not one of those initial choices at the beginning of the game. In terms of gameplay itself, you'll remember that you could gather up to 2 resources of any type in the Market a Pocket game, 2 of the same or 2 different, but that's not the same for Hardfire there. Hardfire, you have to sacrifice other resources to get. So if you choose to gather Hardfire on your turn instead of something else, basically what you're going to do is you're going to sacrifice your basic resources to gain the Hardfire. You can sacrifice up to 3, so you could sacrifice 3 of the same or 3 different. It doesn't matter. It could just be 1. It could be 2. It's really up to you. But the general idea is that the Mysterious Smith, he needs a resource of sacrifice in order to be able to move forward, and it's ultimately you're laying down those things that appear to be sustenance to you in order to attain this new resource, right? But this new resource is essential in order to really be able to move forward in the upgrades. It is worth remembering, though, that when you gather Hardfire here, that does take up your whole turn, just as it would if you were gathering some other type of resource. I mean, you can't gather like 1 or 2 Hardfire and some other kind of resource. Hardfire is the entire action. Exploring the deck works in a similar manner as before. Remember, you could explore up to 2 times. You could flip one, either buy it or not. If you don't buy it, you could flip a second one, either buy it or not. And if you don't buy it, you could gain a free resource. The benefit here and the upgrades at this point in the game is, yes, you can in fact gain Hardfire as that extra resource if you chose not to walk away with something from the market. You'll remember in the market, you could also buy cards that were already out there. In the upgrades, you can do the same, but you could also instead buy from the top of any of those 4 piles. When you buy from one of these, you basically pay the full cost at the bottom of one of these cards. That main image in the middle doesn't mean a great deal. It's mostly flavor. It does have some correspondence to the cards underneath, but it's not serving as a permanent resource. The cost at the bottom here, you pay the full cost. So you'd have to pay all that compost. All this fiddle has the 2, the 0, the 4 light, the 1 fire. It's worth 5 hope. To win this game, you either need 50 hope or 15 power. So either 5-0 hope or 1-5 power to win. You'll notice power there is in the top right hand corner. ultimately there will be like an upgrades discard pile as well, and you could buy from the top of that pile if you chose to buy there instead. In terms of buying upgrades, let's look at a scenario. Let's say that this is our situation, and I want to buy the top upgrade off of that pile. I have to spend that 2 compost and the 0 fiddleheads and the 4 light and the 1 hard fire. Remember that permanent light there counts as one permanent. You'll notice that symbol there is that like scarf symbol, and it's a level 1. I do have another option for buying this card, and that's ultimately that I could try to take this card and level it up to a level 2 there, right? And you can only level up by 1 level at a time, so you can't go from a level 1 to a level 3 even if the level 3 is out there. It is important to note that you can actually own both the level 1 and the level 2 at the same time. You could in theory also own the level 3. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at another option for leveling up this card, right? So on the one hand, like I said, you could buy that green scarf up there and have it and the brown belt. Or I could pay just that absolute full cost, right? The 3 compost and 3 fiddleheads and the 5 light and the 2 hard fire, and just absolutely buy the card, put it down there beside the brown belt. But the other option is that I can actually level up my brown belt to the green scarf there. And if ultimately what I can do is I can pay off the full cost of the 5 light there by sacrificing or rather discarding my brown belt here, right? So you'll note that I had 0 light there, right? And that's problematic. And so if I'm trying to pay for the 5 light, right, I can't afford it. And so I can't just buy it outright like I might be able to if I had it. So what I do is I would take the card that I'm going to upgrade to, essentially, right? And then I'm going to take the card that's 1 level down, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it into my discard pile over here, right? And by discarding it, it's going to pay the full cost of a single type of resource. So it's going to pay the full 5 of the synthetic light, and I just have to pay the cost on the other resources there, right? I pay off all the compost and all the fiddleheads. The light's already paid for because I discarded the level 1 for the level 2, and I pay the 2 hard fire. I couldn't level up from a level 1 to a level 3 even if the 3 was out there. I could only go from a 2 to a 3, or say like a 1 to a 2. In terms of gameplay, there is one other thing that needs to be said. Just as I could buy this brown belt and that next level up level 2 card, another player could actually buy the level 2 card, preventing me from leveling up my card to theirs. But they could be able to level up to the 3 while I couldn't from that level 2. And so there's multiple strategies. You can really kind of play the disruption game. You could gain a whole bunch of temporary resource or permanent resources in order to attempt to win the game. You could really focus heavily on the different upgrades. You could focus on a specific upgrade pile, right? And so there's multiple avenues to the win in the upgrades market expansion. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that this video was helpful for you.